Hi, I'm Twiggy. You might have seen me shouting at Valorant before.
3 headshots, 1 nano swarm, and knows where the last one is on long. Gonna turn around the corner, go for the ace! The ace from Pingali!
You might have also heard some of my peers use terms like NA meta, double duelist, Korean standard, and wondered what the hell it means because we only get about 30 seconds of talk time before the round starts and we don't want to explain stuff in depth later. Here's a comprehensive guide to regional metas.
NA meta.
NA meta, NA standard, or double duelist is the most widely adopted team composition across all regions combined, and it's no wonder. It's the team composition with which the Sentinels dominated Reykjavik. NA meta is characterized by a Sova, a controller, usually Astra, however Viper and Omen are also good picks, a Sentinel, usually Killjoy or Cypher, but sometimes Sage is picked, especially on Icebox, and 2 duelists, usually some combination of Jet, Raze, or Phoenix. However, Reyna is a good comfort pick as well. NA meta is what I would consider the most well-balanced composition in the current meta. Its philosophy is self-sufficiency. The duelists are great at entry fragging, but they're not supported by their initiator or the rest of their team. They all have their own jobs to do. If your team is composed of 5 brilliant players, then it allows all of them to shine without putting too much pressure on you to develop team set pieces that could be shut down or counter-strategized easily.
Double dive.
Double dive lives very comfortably within the NA meta bubble. However, instead of a locked Sova, the initiator is free to flex around. However, the Valorant overlords giveth, and the Valorant overlords taketh away, and in order to release our Sova from his jail, we must first place the duelists into Jet and Raze jail. The main reason you would want to play double dive over NA meta is to add a bit of attacking play to your entry fraggers. You're giving up a little bit of that recon and defensive capability in order to add more to your attack. And in turn, it makes your entry fraggers feel more warm and fuzzy inside, knowing that there's less likelihood that they'll die within 20 seconds of the round and have to watch the rest of the team play for the rest of it.
EU meta.
EU meta, EU standard, or double sentinel revolves around replacing that second duelist with a Sage. The only other really always picked character in this composition is Killjoy over Cypher as your second sentinel. Everyone else's jobs are so independent of the two that they can just comfort pick their way through it. This team composition was intensely popular within teams in the EMEA region in the lead up to Reykjavik. However, after the quarterfinals, we saw that Fnatic only used it in 2 out of 10 of the maps, and even Team Liquid was straying away from it from time to time. EU tried desperately to cling on to the Sage, even after she was being phased out of meta internationally. However, in the competition we saw that it was just not holding up against the likes of the NA meta and the
Korean meta.
Korean meta, double initiator or supported dive is my favourite composition in the game. Why? It revolves around picking a flash initiator as well as a duelist with movement abilities to completely demolish the enemy team within the first 5 seconds of the round. The duo this team revolves around is a Breach or Sky in your second initiator slot and a Jet or Raze in your duelist slot, the former being the most commonly picked in both cases. This is an explosive comp. It gets clips, and if the enemy team isn't expecting it, they'll be left in a messy pile of Bladestorm soup at the start of every few rounds. Newturn got a lot further in Reykjavik than any viewer or any esports personality predicted, and I think that is in part due to how strong the Korean meta comp is when it's played against a team of similar skill. In my opinion, this is currently the strongest team composition in the current meta when played correctly.
SA meta.
SA meta, Latin America standard, or EBP mid-range, is a team comp that is characterized specifically by Sova, Sky, and Raze, as well as 2 controllers, usually Omen and Viper. The idea here isn't to go for insanely fast or flashy plays, but to overwhelm the opposition with utility. However, much like a human and a banana, Korean meta and EBP share much of the same DNA, but the human eats the banana for breakfast. Ouch.
Triple duelist.
Triple duelist is what happens when you take 5 players from ladder and throw them immediately into a pro team. In all seriousness, triple duelist can actually work when played correctly, and it's usually built less around team set plays and more around going for picks and trades. Since you only have 2 more agents available for your team, usually you would pick something like Sky and Omen or Astro for a little bit of supporting capability and some sense of map control. Still, I'm pretty sure I could shoehorn a bringing a knife to a gunfight joke in there.
Quintuple Duelist.
Why?
No Duelist.
No duelist can be any comp without a duelist, technically. However, the most common setup would usually be Sage as well as a second Sentinel, Sova as well as a second Initiator, and a Controller, which is relatively interchangeable. No duelist is very situational, but it has its merits. On certain maps, such as Ascent, with certain team playstyles, it can be very favourable to pick a team composition that allows you to default safely with the extra utility, doesn't let you overextend early round and burn flashes like something like Korean meta, and it has a killer defense. It also plays really well into the Sage is actually a duelist thing, which I love.
AV Control.
This team composition was rising in popularity rapidly just before Reykjavik. After the Viper buffs of 2.06, it was looking incredibly favourable. However, teams didn't really have enough time to make it work with their new team compositions just before the competition started, so they opted for more comfortable compositions in the end. The team revolves around Astra and Viper, as well as sometimes a Sage, using their controller abilities to take and maintain space. Generally picked alongside these are a Sentinel and a Duelist. This team comp is almost the complete opposite of Korean meta, in that you're actively trying to avoid engagement until the post plant or the end of the round. This way, you can play for space instead of kills and waste time, try to deny defusing opportunities at the end of the round. But that's about it. These were the most popular team compositions in the lead up to Reykjavik and during the competition, and they're still the most popular ones in every level of tournament right now. As new metas emerge, I'm sure we'll see new team compositions, and I'll have to remake this video all over again, but for now, I've been Twiggy. There's my Twitter, there's my Twitch, and this is basically just a precursor to a longer list of videos I want to do, so I can refer back to it whenever I talk about team compositions. But subscribe if you want to see more, hit the bell or whatever they tell you to do, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye for now.